Alright, that intro was a song by a band called Muskrat Hannah. The song is called Martyrs. They've been disbanded at this point, but anyway, I thought that would be a nice little intro to this replay. So, this audio commentary is going to be a human mirror match on Lost Temple. Again, another replay of my friend Jake's. And it's going to feature some interesting unit choices and strategies, along with some good old troll chat that my friend Jake is sort of known for sometimes. So he's going to go ahead and set up a joke here in a minute, but as you can see, Jake is spawned on the 9 o'clock position, and his opponent, kpgarrett, is spawned on the 6 o'clock position. Now let's go ahead and get this kicked off. And so this is kind of an advantageous spawn position for Jake. Again, the reasoning being he is going to be close enough to his opponent's natural expansion spot, so it lets him harass the expansion and the creeping if he chooses to do so. And also, if his opponent expands there, he can pressure it easier since it's since it's close to his base for the reinforcement. So now you notice the chat. Jake is making some silly joke, and his opponent is feigning amusement there. But back to the game, Jake is going what looks to be a footman build, and his opponent is going to be going a rifleman build, which is not standard and is probably not the most effective strategy both for this map and this matchup. If you look at the chat, you can see some of the funny kind of a public service announcement. Should be aware of anyone trying to meet you in real life that you meet online. Sometimes it's kind of a dangerous catfish situation. Catfish and DrunkRedneck21 isn't exactly a comforting username. But anyway, Jake is going to ask this young fellow if he wants to go swimming somewhere. But anyway, just be aware, people. Be aware. But yeah, so back to the unit choice here. Riflemen don't exactly get any advantage creeping on this map. I think footmen are by far the better choice on this map, specifically because the piercing creeps are pretty much the main DPS creeps most of these camps, and defend pretty much is gonna make them not nearly as effective at damaging your unit, so it's going to be easier to creep that without taking too much damage. And also, if you want to fast expand, you're going to want to have you're going to need a lot of wood to fast expand and tower it. And going rifleman definitely does not help you do that, because the blacksmith and the rifleman themselves cost a lot of wood. That's also they're also cost more gold and more food, so again, it's going to be easier to fast expand doing a footman build. And then for this mirror match specifically, as you can see, Jake is scouted. He's putting a scout farm up, and he's going to go ahead and run straight to this natural, and his opponent is actually not there at the moment, which is kind of maybe lucky for him. The reasoning is he has actually gotten his rifleman stuck in his main base, which is a big mistake, excuse me, because it is going to delay his creeping quite a bit, which is already probably going to be slow with a rifleman. And yeah, so this is going to be a problem for him, and it's just gonna snowball as we see through the rest of the game. But anyway, so since Jake did not find his opponent there, he is going to go ahead and do some militia creeping at this shop, which is it's not exactly the standard, but it's not totally unorthodox. He did lose a footman immediately, and he has almost lost 2 peasants, but he didn't lose those 2 peasants, so I guess it wasn't too big, too many losses. But again, he definitely only losing units creeping. But he did get level 2.4 maybe, and healing wards, and he bought the boots of speed there, so again, he's going to be pretty good at applying some pressure with that storm bolt if he can get some surrounds off, and he can run around, so he's not going to be in danger of getting surrounded or anything. And the heal wards are very effective at both creeping and in standing fights, though in solo games they're a little less effective than they would be in big team games, because again you can just attack them with a unit and one hit is going to take them out, so because they have 5 hit points. So, but Jake is really probably a little confused right now since his opponent still hasn't been creeping anything. So Jake is going to go ahead and creep this expansion himself, and now Pink has finally gotten his rifleman out of his base, and is going to run over here, sort of to his dismay. Pink hasn't scouted anything, which is not a very good sign of a skilled player. But anyway, sadly for him, he runs into a bolt surround. Jake has plenty of units, so it's not exactly super impressive, but again, he pulled it off, and for Cosmodon, he has sniped that terrible Archmage and is going to get this Rifleman kill as well. So he is already level 3+, and his opponent is still level 1. And not only that, but he's got some great items. And this is just getting out of control for Pink, because he has got ineffective units to fight the footmen, especially since Jake is about to finish researching defend, and he is healing up with his heal ward, which is going to be useful. And yeah, and he's going to go ahead and expand his opponent's natural expansion. Now it has its pros and cons doing this in games, but it is usually unexpected for a player to expand your own natural expansion. Again, Pink's scouting is pretty poor, and he probably does not expect this to happen. Maybe, even though there were peasants there, he maybe should have expected it. But as you can see, as this game goes on, he is not going to scout this for quite a while, and the towers are going to get up without any kind of harassment. So, and that scout farm is going to clue Jake in on exactly what Pink is doing. He could have wasted time trying to kill it. Wouldn't have really hurt Jake all that much. But if he just runs by it, it still provides the information that Pink is going to be going towards these center creeps, and he is not really going to be in too good a spot once Jake shows up, throwing level 2 storm bolts and trying to get surrounds. He misses the surround, but it's only a matter of time. Creeping right now is not a good idea for Pink, and especially not until he can get away from Jake. And now he's run into these fountain creeps, which is just making just a big chaotic mess in the center here. But Jake is just pretty much going to ignore it and run up, and he is going to get another bolt surround. As you see, Pink's hero is still level 1, deciding whether or not to TP. I don't know if it was a decision or just a terrible mistake that he didn't realize he was surrounded, but usually you don't want to TP a level 1 hero, but in this situation, he is already so far behind creeping that he probably didn't need to lose his hero there. He probably needed to TP, but he didn't, so now his army is going to be pretty much useless for the next 30 seconds, or however long it takes the hero to come back. And in the meantime, Jake is just leveling up. His Mountain King is level 3, about to be 4. This game is pretty much already over, but just based on hero levels, Pink is not totally out of it, but again, it's going to be a huge uphill battle for him to come back. He finally is running his units past Jake's expansion, and he does catch sight of it. Now, one thing to note, I'd like to point out, is something some human players do if they expand, is they will tech up at their expansion. Now, the pros of this is it's going to allow him to call to arms at his expansion as well as his main base, so he can make militia, or he can turn his peasants into militia here at the expansion, which is going to help with defense a little bit if he needs to or wants to. And the downside is this expansion is really close to Pink's main, so if he gets a lot of mortars or siege engines or just enough units, he's going to easily be able to push this, since it's just a short walk from his main, and he's going to be able to force Jake to TP in to defend it, most likely. Because if he doesn't and he loses his tech, that's really going to hurt him. As far as in normal situations, it would be disastrous to lose your tech in a human mirror game, especially before you get your arcane sanctums. But a quick look at Jake's base and his army composition, which is all footmen right now, and the fact that he's throwing up 2 blacksmith, it's kind of a clue as to his plan to just stick with mass footmen and probably get a bunch of upgrades on them. He did tech up. He's taking up the castle, actually, which is going to allow him to switch to knights if he chooses to. He's got 4 barracks, 3 already, and a 4th one going up in his main. And, yeah, so that's a lot of footmen there, and he's getting zeppelins, so most likely he's going to do a zeppelin drop on Pink. He's already Jake is level 5. Pink is still level 1, which is disaster in a human mirror match. Pink does have a mixed army, which is usually a good sign, but he's getting a paladin second, which is, again, not the best option in most situations. He's probably just tired of watching his archmage get demolished by Stormbolt. But so anyway, Pink is going to go ahead and push in with this mixed army. He does have defend on the footmen, which is good. He's actually going to be able to take these towers out fairly easily with his army and the siege. But meanwhile, Jake is going to zeppelin in, and he is going to start sniping off these peasants. Now, again, if you're trying to estimate the cost, how much damage Jake does compared to his opponent, you've got to keep in mind that Jake is his hero is already level 5, almost approaching 5.5, and he's got the expansion. So again, losing those 2 towers and some peasants is definitely not as damaging to him as it is for Pink to lose his peasants, because his economy is, again, limited to the 1 base. So while Pink will have the advantage of a mixed army with casters and pretty much no anti-casters for Jake's side. Again, the hero levels and just the sheer size of Jake's army is gonna pretty much put this out of reach. Now Jake's brought in some militia from his main, which is just gonna make this even more lopsided, as he is just has a whole swarm of units. Slow is one of the main strengths of slow is that it limits the movement speed of your units. The effect on the attack speed is also painful, but with the footmen, you don't want to get kited with slow usually. But he's got so many footmen and zeppelins that he can sort of negate that. And with defend, the riflemen were useless. Pink did get fragmentation shards, which is pretty strong against mass tier 1 footmen. But again, he's only got the 2 mortar teams, and it's just the sheer amount of footmen that Jake has, and he's not going to be letting up anytime soon. So Pink just doesn't have the DPS to mitigate that advantage. And you can see the replay is nearly over. Jake has level 6. He has gone Avatar, which is kind of just rubbing it in there, insult to injury kind of a thing, because again, his hero is full health. He didn't really need. Pink doesn't really have anything to make him worry about needing magic immunity. It's just more for the sheer fun of casting Avatar and having a giant metal stone looking Mountain King. So as you can see, the game is over. I'm going to take a look at the score here. Jake produced more units, had a bigger army. He killed a lot more, about 5 times as many units. He got more hero kills. He got about 10 times as much experience. He harvested about 2,700 more gold, having that expansion. And yeah, level 7 Mountain King versus level 2 Archmage and level 1 Paladin. Pretty much one-sided game. DrunkRedneck21 for the win. But anyway, the kind of the key, some of the takeaways here: Rifleman not the most effective in Human Mirror, especially not on Lost Temple, since there aren't any quickly available camps with air units, dragons. So you're not going to get an advantage on being able to creep air, since there's hardly any air creeps on the map. And the spawns favored Jake, which was just another thing, and then Pink just contributed to his downfall even more by locking his base in to where his rifles were stuck for several minutes of the early game, which is a crucial time on Lost Temple. But in any matchup on any map, you're not really gonna want to have your army sitting useless in your base for any significant amount of time. So yeah, I hope that replay was enjoyable, and the audio commentary was informative, amusing, and whatnot. So I'm gonna go ahead and do an outro. Here, continue with the song from earlier, and hope you guys enjoyed.